Hey, what up guys, Wavy here, and today I have another custom LEGO minifigure tutorial for you guys. And for this tutorial, I'm going to be doing a basic sculpting tutorial. A lot of people wanted me to do an in-depth sculpting tutorial, and I'll do that later, but I just figured that, first of all, it works with what I'm working on right now. As you can see, Thor's Stormbreaker from Infinity War. So I'm just going to be doing some basic sculpting on there. Nothing like detailed work like how I made my Chewbacca, or how I made like something like my Killmonger's helmet or something. That would be more of an in-depth sculpting tutorial, which I will be doing later, maybe next week, if I don't have any figures to showcase. Just so that you guys, I just want to do basic first, so you guys kind of get the basic idea on how to do that. So that's just like something like filling the gap of like the stud here, and like filling gaps, basically just how to use Procreate in a sense. And I know a lot of you guys probably already know how to do this, but this is also kind of a replacement video because I had a video similar to this a while ago using green stuff, and I've privated that video, first of all because it was really cringy, but also because I use Procreate now, and while it's similar, I feel like it'd just be easier if I just do a Procreate tutorial. And you also get to see a little behind the scenes of me making Stormbreaker. So yeah guys, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so first of all, what we're going to go over is the tools that you need. Now, this is just a basic sculpting tutorial, so you don't really need a lot of tools. You probably will need more when it gets to in-depth. If you have sculpting tools and everything, you don't really need it for this kind of basic sculpting. So really all you need is a toothpick. That's just for if you need to do any shaping or pushing around the Procreate, because if you use your finger, it ends up leaving like a fingerprint mark, and then you have to smooth that over. So it's just easier to use this to kind of roll it out, which is what I use it for. Need a file, sanding file. This is just for when it's dry, because you don't have to make sure it's perfectly even when you sculpt it. Obviously it would be easier, but it just kind of, it's nice when you just like sculpt something a little bit bigger than you need it and sand it down so you can kind of fine tune it to the specific size you want. And of course you need Procreate. I use Procreate. You can use green stuff. It's, like I said, it's like almost similar to the exact same thing. Only difference is that one part is yellow, one part's blue instead of white and black. These are just kind of the sculpts I know how to use. I've used this and green stuff. If you have any other air dry clay that you want to use, I'm pretty sure it works similar. Just these are what most people use, and it's what I've used to sculpt everything from Black Panther to Gladiator Hulk to my Ben 10 figs, to Thanos. So basically it's just what I've used for everything. So yeah. Alright, so the first thing obviously you're going to want to do is open it up. I'm not sure if you keep your Procreate in a thing like this. I usually do. And just take two parts, one white, one black. What I usually do is roll it up into a ball. Usually I mix too much, and if you do, you can do what my friend Yale does, which is flatten it out into this thin sheet, and then once it's dry, sand it down so it's flat, and you can use it for 3D details, such as belt buckles and stuff, like I used on my Black Widow from Infinity War. I used it for a belt buckle, just cut it out of that and glued it on. So don't be too worried if you mix too much. Kind of measure how much you think you'll need. I probably won't need that much, so I'm just gonna take this away. And the best way to judge by size is to roll it up into a ball, so just kind of do this with your fingers, so you'll get like a small ball. And like I said, that's actually probably too much, but I'm not using that much for what I'm doing here. So just roll it into a ball, and then put it down, and then just get the same on the other part. And just kind of, that's what I just kind of grab at it, and then roll it up into a ball, and just make sure that they're even size, and just kind of measure them as soon as you get them. So I'm probably going to need a bit more black. So as you can see there, they're fairly the same size right there, and then you just want to squish them together and just start mixing them. Usually what I do is just start twisting it and then squishing it and then twist it. And just keep doing that until it becomes gray, or if you're using green stuff, it will become green, obviously. So just continue to do this until it's mixed. Alright guys, so I've mixed in my Procreate. As you can see, it's one uniform gray. Well, you can't really see it there. It's gray now. It's no longer white and black. So yeah. So like I said, I'm gonna be working on my Thor's hammer here. Now, if you look at reference, it looks like it's made out of Groot's kind of roots. So the plan right now would be I'm going to fill in this side to make it flatter. Oh, I dropped it. Fill in this 1x1 tile here, and then I glued them on, so I'm going to sculpt these to the rod so that it seems more seamless, and kind of smooth it out so that it looks like it's part of it. And then once I do that, I'm going to just sculpt roots to wrap it around, and then when I paint it up, it'll hopefully look like one thing. So to start off, I probably didn't mix enough Procreate. I'm just now realizing this, so I'll probably go back and mix more. But just take some Procreate, and for filling a gap like this, just some examples. If you're extending legs, you might want to fill gaps with Procreate. If you're not going to do E-tape boots, if you cut anything, or if you're doing what I'm doing and using like a 1x1 tile for something and you want to fill it, this is just how you do it. You just put Procreate in there, really. And that's quite obviously not enough, so I'm going to take some more, and I'm definitely going to have to mix more Procreate, and then you just want to like put it over to cover it, and then just like flatten it out. This might be where you want to use the toothpick, which is what I would do, which is like take it and then just kind of scrape off the top, kind of roll it so that it flattens out the Procreate on the top, just like roll it and push it in, and then just kind of use it to scrape off the excess like that. So yeah, just do this, and obviously we will sand it later anyway, but for now we're just going to fill it. You can use your fingernail to kind of smooth it, or water is a great smoother, so just have some water on standby. Just dip your finger in it and just kind of rub it onto the Procreate. It feels really nasty, I'm not even gonna lie, but it works. And then just kind of continue to flatten it. As you can see, it's not very flat, but it's in there, so you just want to keep, whether you're gonna roll it or flatten it with your fingernail or use water or anything, just make sure that it's flat, and then once that dries we can sand it up. But you can also I'm going to work on sculpting the rest of this, and I will obviously show it, but just make sure if you're sculpting multiple things on an item to not like touch this or squish it, or like put my finger on it and then leave a fingerprint, because I'm going to have to go back and fix that anyway. So I'll mix more Procreate and then we'll get on to the next step of sculpting onto the rod. So I'll mix some more Procreate, and now we're going to move on to the next step. So like I said, I'm going to be sculpting mostly right here. Oh, you know what, this is hard to do with the camera, but I'm going to be sculpting right here and right here, because as you can see, they did clip on to the these pieces usually clip onto like a rod, but I cut off the clips and just glued them on. So for this one I'm just going to sculpt a box that kind of goes in, and for this one I'm just going to sculpt like just around that part so it seems, and we're going to get rid of this gap right here. So first things first, we're going to widen that out, because it's hard, believe it or not, it's really hard to do work while there's a camera in front of my face. So so first we're going to take off a bit of Procreate here, and I'm just going to make this wider so you can actually see what's going on. I'm going to take off a bit of Procreate, and we're going to roll it up into like a line. So just kind of put it on the desk and just roll it like this until it becomes like a strip. And I'm just going to take it and put it around the thing here. I'm just going to press it in, and then we're going to put it over, like just move it around here. Using just the toothpick we can like smooth it, so like smooth it out here to make it flush with the axe, and then at the edges I'm going to squish it a bit more just so that it shapes better. So like I said, we're just going to like roll it out here, push it in, and just kind of do that to get it to look flush. Now this is actually really hard to sculpt. with the camera on, so I'm just gonna kind of explain what I'm gonna do and then do it, speed up the footage, and then kind of just talk about what I did, because that's easier for me to sculpt than trying to sculpt and also talk and also make sure it's on frame at the same time. So like I said, I'm going to put a bit more Procreate here just to fill in this gap down here, and then I'm just going to take the Procreate I already have around the axe and make it flush with the axe and the rod, and if I have any extra I can just push it over to this square part so that it I can use less Procreate when I get there. So I'm just going to do that, speed up the footage, and then show you what I did. Alright guys, so just for the sculpting, I did what I said I was going to do, and I just sculpted in the gap at the bottom there, and sculpted around the clip. Obviously, it's not the best sculpt, and that's just because all I have to do is sculpt this part to the rod, and then I'm going to let it dry, and then tomorrow, in the morning, when it's dried, I'm going to sand it, and then sculpt the roots over it, just because if I sculpt the roots over it, I won't be able to sand what's underneath. So I'm just going to let this dry, or I'm going to sculpt the other part and then show you that, and then let it dry, and then sculpt it tomorrow, and then I'll pick up there. So I'm just going to sculpt it, show you guys, and then pick up tomorrow when I have the root, when I'm sand it, and then I'm going to sculpt the roots. So as you can see, I've finished up sculpting this square part to the rod, and now I'm just going to let it dry and sand it down. As you can see, it's probably not the cleanest sculpt, but we're going to fix that up once it's dried and I sand it, which I definitely won't show because it's hard enough to sculpt on camera without having to try and sand and make sure it's in frame and make sure I don't mess up. So we're going to just cut to that. I obviously have to wait till the morning to when the Procreate's dry, but magic of editing. So alright guys, so now it's day 2, just come back from a long day of doing stuff, and it's dried, and I sanded it off camera just because it's easier for me to do that way. As you can see here, the sculpt is a lot more refined, sanded down, and if it would focus, you could see it's a lot more thinner and flush with the actual plastic. So just, you know, take your file and just like I sanded it like here, right here, made it flat here, around here, and here, and yeah, just made it flatter. So the last thing there is to do is to sculpt the roots onto it, and that's not going to be hard. We're just going to mix up some more Procreate, and then just kind of twist some little thin lines of it together. Let me just get out my reference here, and we'll get to work. Alright guys, so I've mixed up some more Procreate here, and all we're going to do is just take a bit off and do what we did earlier, and to roll it into like a bit of a log here, a thin strip. And because on the reference photo the axe is actually like bound by like roots, and I mean, I guess it's speculated that it's Groot uses his powers. What I'm just gonna do is, if I can get this like there, put this on, connect this to the rod itself to be like roots coming off of it, and then just wrap it around the top here. And I'm just going to continue to do that, continue to do that with different sizes and stuff of Procreate, just to make it look more like the roots that are wrapped around it. And I do have to press it in so that it actually sticks, and then I'll show you what it looks like after I've done that. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the end of this video. As you can see, I sculpted the roots on the axe here, and they don't look too bad. I'm probably going to touch them up a bit because the Procreate hasn't dried yet, but I'm probably not going to talk about how I did those, because that's something I would probably more so do in the in-depth sculpting tutorial, just because of the way I had to use a toothpick to kind of do some lines and shape it and stuff. That should be next week, but I don't 100% know yet. Depends on if I have any figures to showcase or not, but for now, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to leave check out the links in the description where I get around to posting these figures way before I get around to posting them on YouTube. And that's going to be it, guys, so thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.